France and Germany are two countries that are allies today, but in the past they had a fierce rivalry that brought terrible consequences during the 20th century. You must already know why. And like any rivalry between bordering countries, the territorial component could not be missing. In this case, the regions of Alsace and Lorraine, which warrants us making a video about it. Are you interested in knowing the historical background of the Franco-German bone of contention? Go ahead, then stay until the end of the video. To start, let's look at some geographical generalities of Alsace and Lorraine. Both are considered historical regions within France, but they do not constitute territorial entities today, but are framed within the region of the Grand Est, which also includes the historical regions of Champagne and the Ardennes. The capital of the Grand Est is Strasbourg, which is the historical capital of Alsace. Although it does not have official status, the Alsatian language is spoken by a minority in the region, which is a Germanic language related to German, but with a certain French accent. There is also the Lorraine Franconian, which is spoken in Lorraine and is another dialect of German. Of course, throughout the Grand Est, the only official language is French. To understand this linguistic and cultural mess, it would be good to talk about history. Let's go back then to the Middle Ages, more specifically to the era of Charlemagne, the most representative ruler of the Kingdom of the Franks, known in its heyday as the Carolingian Empire. It turns out that the Carolingian dynasty was of Germanic origin, but ruled over a Gallo-Romance majority, that is, the predecessor of the current French, who were concentrated in the westernmost areas of the empire. After the death of Charlemagne, the empire is divided among his grandsons through the Treaty of Verdun to form the so-called three Frankish realms, which were discussed in more detail in this video. The Western Frankish realm is the predecessor of the Kingdom of France, the Eastern Frankish realm, predecessor of the Holy Roman Empire or First German Reich, and the Middle Frankish realm, well, it had a slightly more complex fate. In just 15 years, it was divided into smaller states, and the one that concerns us is Lotharingia, named in honor of its king Lothair II, which included the current Benelux countries, the Rhineland and Saar regions in Germany, and Alsace and Lorraine in France. These last two, which are not our concern, eventually became part of the Holy Roman Empire, within the duchies of Lorraine and Swabia, that is, they were domains of the Austrasia. Everything would change in the 17th century, more specifically after the 30 Years' War. In 1648, Alsace came under French sovereignty through the Peace of Westphalia. As for Lorraine, at that time an exclave of the Holy Roman Empire within France, it was incorporated into the Gallic country in 1766, after the reigning dynasty could not find a successor to the throne. As you may know, the French have always had a fairly centralist and acquisitive policy, so they were keen to expand the French language and culture in the annexed regions, which were always predominantly Germanic, having spent much more time under the dominion of the Usurgo. And here we have to jump ahead to the 19th century, the century of nationalism. German was one of the most important, as it was the basis for the process of German unification led by Otto von Bismarck's Prussia. In fact, after the Napoleonic Wars, Prussia became a regional power that directly competed with France. This is strengthened after defeating Denmark and Austria, which it excludes from German unification. The third and final step was the Franco-Prussian War, where the North German Confederation, led by Prussia, along with the other German states, defeated the Second French Empire of Napoleon III. This meant the annexation of Alsace and Lorraine by the emerging German Empire, which proclaimed its unification in the Palace of Versailles, a humiliation over which the French would not rest until they found revenge. They found this in World War I, in which, as you know, France and Germany fought on opposite sides. After the Allied victory, the Treaty of Versailles stipulates the return of Alsace and Lorraine to France, the most vehement in imposing the peace conditions, to the point of labeling the Germans as the true culprits of the war, a new humiliation that laid the groundwork for the spread of totalitarian ideologies in Germany. Yes, I'm referring to the mustached painter who used revenge against France as one of his speeches to come to power. Once the Third Reich was born, which consolidated itself as a new military power, The Second World War was only a matter of time. After the Battle of France, the Germans vindicate themselves and re-annex Alsace and Lorraine, not as occupied territories, but as an integral part of the Third Reich. However, this new annexation would only last 5 years, as after the end of the war and the fall of National Socialism, France recovers the territories, which are reintegrated as regions of France. Since then, they have enjoyed some administrative and cultural autonomy within the French Republic, but things have changed lately. As already mentioned, today neither of the two regions has the status of administrative entity since 2015, and rather they are part of the Grand Est region, where there are not even departments with the names of Alsace or Lorraine. The first of them was separated into the departments of Upper Rhine and Lower Rhine. The second is scattered among the departments of Moselle, Meurthe and Moselle, and forests. It wouldn't be far-fetched to think that these administrative changes were made to finally settle the French influence over both regions, where the Germanic languages that are still spoken today lack recognition. However, it is important to recognize that both historical regions have an identity different from the French one, having belonged to Germany longer than to France, which is even reflected in the flag of Lorraine, which is the same as that of Lotharingia, the kingdom from which both territories originated, and which gave rise to the very name of Lorraine. In conclusion, as you can see, Alsace and Lorraine are two territories that have historically been the apple of discord between the French and Germans. However, the relations between the first two powers of the European Union are cordial today, and we will hardly find any new territorial dispute, especially with the Frenchification of them by the French government. Do you think the status of both regions within France should be claimed? Don't forget to leave your comment and subscribe to the channel. Also, I leave in the description my social networks, and in case you want to see the new videos in preview and have a greater interaction with me, your donations on Patreon, unhermanito.net, or channel members are welcome. See you next time. Thank you.